Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. This is our fourth lesson in this introductory unit. Today's topic, we're going to be looking at rational versus irrational numbers. So we're going to find out what makes up a rational number versus what makes up an irrational number. And then for homework, we're going to be identifying which numbers belong to the rational category and which numbers belong to the irrational category. So let's take a look and start with rational numbers. These are the numbers that, if you think the word rational makes sense. So we can have a little more sense about these numbers. We understand them better. So a rational number, the exact definition, is a number that can be written as a fraction. Well, you're thinking, oh, well, fractions are fractions. No, you can write just about any number as a fraction, and those would be rational numbers. Those types of numbers are whole numbers, integers, regular fractions themselves, improper fractions, mixed numbers, decimals, terminating and repeating decimals. A terminating decimal is a decimal that ends. So if I had 0.25, that terminated, it stopped, it ended. So that would be a rational number as a decimal. Repeating decimals, if I had 0.25252525252525, that is a repeating decimal. Repeating decimals can actually be written as a fraction. So since they are able to be written as a fraction, then they are rational numbers. So you can see this chart. This chart shows you an example of what rational numbers may look like. You would have regular integers, -9, -73. You would have a repeating decimal, -45.7777. Repeating decimals are rational numbers. Mixed numbers, fractions, terminating decimals. So those are all examples of what rational numbers would look like. Now let's look at irrational numbers. Irrational numbers are ones that cannot be written as a fraction. The most notorious of the irrational numbers is our friend pi, 3.14, with a bunch of digits after it. So it just keeps going on and on and on and on as a decimal. So pi is one of those examples of a non-terminating, non-repeating decimal. The decimal just goes on and on and on and on, and it does not repeat. It does not stop. Those numbers are irrational numbers. Sometimes if you encounter a number like this, the square root of 2, sometimes I'll write those irrational numbers as the square root. Why? Because it's easier than writing all of the many decimal places, and it would continue on, that number would consist of. So as you are looking for the difference between a rational number versus irrational number, you're looking for two things. If it's an irrational number, it may be written with a radicand sign for a square root, or the decimal is just going to go on in a very long string. Let's take a look now at our Get More Math assignment. It says, classify this number. Is it rational versus irrational? Well, it has that square root sign, but that doesn't always mean that it's going to be irrational. So if I had like the square root of 25, I know that that's 5, and 5 is a rational number. So the easiest way is to check. So again, let's use our scientific calculator. We'll split the screen again so that we can see both. Let me fix this on my computer. So that we can see both. So the easiest way to check is we're going to put that into our Desmos calculator. So we have square root of 10. And it says 3.16227766. You have a lot of decimal places there. So we're going to say that that is irrational, because it goes a lot of decimal places. The calculator's not going to go on forever and forever and forever. So if you have a bunch of decimal places after it, it's likely going to be an irrational number. Is this an irrational number? Negative 1. This is easy. Negative 1's an integer. Integers are rational numbers. 0.49. That looks like a terminating decimal to me. Terminating decimals, ones that just have a few decimal places and they stop, are rational. That's pi. And we already said pi is irrational. So is the following number irrational? Yes, it is. Make sure you're reading whether it's asking for rational or irrational. Mixed number. Mixed number, we said, is rational. So is it rational? Yes. Square root of 64. If you're uncertain, put it into your calculator. Square root 64. Well, the answer is 8. So in this case, we see the square root sign, but it is not irrational because it gives us a whole integer. And since it gives us an integer, we know that it is a rational number. So it is rational. So use Desmos to figure out whether a number is rational or irrational. If it gives you a decimal that is long, it's going to be irrational. All right, go ahead to Get More Math. Let's complete your math assignment. If you have any questions, please get a hold of me. If not, I'll see you next lesson.